Not very often do we get a chance to talk to someone who's so passionate, so educated, and so connected in the sickle cell disease space that they wrote a book. We don't get to talk to those people often, but I do get a co-host with a guy that's like that every show. Dr. Hebert and our next guest actually co-authored a book, so I'll let him do the honors of introducing this absolutely phenomenal mom who wasn't getting what she needed, so she wrote a book to address her unmet needs and educate and support other parents that needed help. Dr. Hebert, tell us about who we're talking about.
We're talking about Jennifer Fletcher. Now, Jennifer Fletcher is quite the Renaissance woman. She's a phenomenal person. She is a great mother. And she was having a lot of issues with trying to get things done for her daughter. And she said, I'm going to write a book about it. And I said, yeah, right. You know, people say they're going to write books all the time. And she was like, no, here, go. And so she wrote the book, and then she asked me to help her with some things like some of the technical issues, to write a couple chapters, do some forwards. And then we consulted about the whole book and read it a bunch of times and a bunch of times and a bunch of times. And we edited it a bunch of times and a bunch of times and a bunch of times. And that's the product that you have. Jennifer Fletcher, here you go.
There you go, Jennifer Fletcher. Hey, how you doing, Jennifer?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Dr. Hebert, for those kind words.
Yes. Well, thank you and welcome to Living Your Life. You know, Jennifer, let's just get to it. What sparked you to write Sickle?
Well, what sparked me to write Sickle is that I obviously had a daughter who has sickle cell SS. And when I found out, I literally couldn't find any information in layman's terms, right? Everything was medical terms and I had to look up every other word. That's good for people like Dr. Hebert. That's not good for your average Black mom that just found out that your kid has sickle cell. So that kind of started the process in my mind. Like, okay, there's something that needs to be done here. And I'm also a social worker. So with those two things combined, something needed to happen. So I figured that I can't be the only mom out here that doesn't understand. But I can be the mom who writes a book in terms where people like me can understand. Because a lot of times parents are embarrassed to ask the doctor. Sometimes, a lot of times, parents don't know what to ask the doctor, right? So that, in addition to Zoe having sickle cell, inspired me to write Sickle.
Yeah, you know, and that's so great because, you know, you don't think about all the terminology. I don't half understand what they're saying. Like they told me I had something going on. I just like, what that mean?
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have to take the long way around. Mm-hmm. You should just start with this. This means you have this. Okay, cool. I understand that. But you start stretching these words out with the itis at the end and all this stuff. I can't think like that. And, and it's so crazy because that's why we have Dr. Hebert on this show. Because Dr. Hebert makes everything that looks difficult sound so easy. He's mastered that. You know, like I'm looking at stuff. It's like he says, "Kier, what that means? If you have this," and he has a great way of putting great analogies to what this really is.
Yeah, he does.
You need someone like that. And so,
well, the crazy part about this is that, you know, when I'm sitting in the rooms with these doctors, most of the time Caucasian doctors, you know, they kind of are very dismissive of the sickle cell population. And that's not all of them. I don't want any hate mail saying you talking about white doctors are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these rooms, most doctors that I'm in rooms with have never taken care of a sickle cell patient. You got millions of doctors. They got 100,000 sickle cell patients that are active, that actually have the disease, and 70% of them are lost to follow-up, which means there's 30% of that, which means there's 30,000 people, and they got millions of doctors. So most of them haven't even seen a patient with sickle cell. So they have to go outside of their realm to try to learn some other things. So when they learn the medical stuff, they don't really want to learn how to make it so it makes sense to you because it don't really matter to them sometimes. So, and they have some Black doctors like that too. But I'm just saying, you know, that's why it's important to bring it to everybody so you understand.
Absolutely. Because Ms. Fletcher, let me ask you this, Ms. Fletcher. So why is the education on sickle cell traits so important to you? Why is that such a big deal?
Well, it's important in order to prevent sickle cell, right? So if we can educate the public and we can educate our kids, I would say at least starting in 7th grade, if we can incorporate the sickle cell trait, just as we do the traits for the eyes in biology and the different genes that, we can get, then why can't we use sickle cell as an example? We're talking about the same things in terms of the knowledge, right? So why not educate our kids on that at an early age? Because that's part of the problem, is that we have the young moms who have the babies, they go into the doctor, they get the checkup, and then they get the letter 2 weeks later. Your baby has sickle cell, your baby has sickle cell trait, your baby does not have sickle cell, right? So that's
Right.
where we are. If your baby has sickle cell, then obviously you go on to the next step. However, if your baby just has sickle cell trait, that's kind of the end of the discussion. You're not called into a doctor's office. You're not called on your cell phone to say, hey, let me explain to you what this means. Right? But now the parent doesn't know. So if the parent doesn't know, he or she can't, or they can't educate the kid. Right? So then the kid goes out and procreates, not knowing. And now you have this baby with sickle cell.
Ta-da, that's me. No, because that's what happened. My parents, they got together and they told my mother I had sickle cell. They didn't even know. They didn't even know what that meant. They started talking about other things. What does that mean? And I didn't get diagnosed till I was 7. So that was 7 years of them not knowing why this little boy won't stop hollering.
Well, that among many other things, because you was probably yakking from birth.
I'm just saying, but that was the issue. Yeah. And so, like the importance of understanding, if my mother knew she had the trait and she would have got my father, they probably could have been prepared. But since they didn't do that, they had me and had to find out later. And oh, by the way, he's 7 right now. Don't expect to live past 11. That's a lot to throw on a group of parents. That very is a lot. Wait a minute. I just found out he got sickle cell today. And now you're going to tell me he's going to be dead in 4 years. Don't plan a life for him.
Preparation. Like I've said this in open forums, that, we need to have genetic counseling. So, and if people that both have sickle cell trait need to be very, concerned about how they're going to procreate. People get upset with me, we don't want to do that. That's not fair. I'm not saying you should procreate. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just want to be able to, people need to know. They need to know what to expect. And that's where the book comes into play. So if you are out there right now and you have sickle cell trait, your partner has sickle cell trait, that's the first thing. Y'all need to both be tested. You probably already have been tested, because the United States, anybody of childbearing age right now, as a woman for sure, is probably already has her results, but she just don't know it. But the point is, if you are out there and you don't know what to expect, if you happen to have a baby with sickle cell disease, you have to get this book, because that's what Jennifer really illustrates well. What to expect financially, what to expect emotionally, what to expect as far as medicines, how much time you're going to spend in the hospital, all these things. That book was not out there. And it's out there now. And that's what she chronicled.
Right, because that's something that wasn't there for me growing up, is a book that I could read, explain it to myself. I'm already going through it, but I don't know what I'm going through. You can't expect me to know what this is at 10. All I know is I'm hurting, and it doesn't stop for a while. And can we please get to that emergency room? Run this red light, Dad. I need to get there. Because there were so many things that was happening to me at one time. And that book can help a lot of people that are young understand this is what your life is going to look like. There was no script for me to figure out what my life looked like. And so, like, Ms. Fletcher, like, for you being a mother with a child that has sickle cell disease, just let them know this is how you start the book, because you weren't getting your needs met. How was that for you to not have your needs met and your daughter is suffering?
Well, first things first, it was scary, right? My daughter was 2 weeks old. I'm a brand new mom. And the doctor calls me and say, hey, your baby, has sickle cell anemia. And I've heard of it before, but I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, okay, because typically we hear stories, and even now I hear people say, when I bring up the book or we happen to have a conversation about it, oh, I know somebody that has sickle cell. They died at boom, boom, boom. And you were talking earlier about changing the dynamic and changing that conversation. I'm so tired of hearing people say, whenever I bring it up, oh, I had a cousin that died from that, my cousin's friend. But for me, I did the research, I did the work, I networked with people such as Dr. Hebert. I had no idea he was so vested in a sickle cell community, and until we started to communicate a little bit more, on that level. So it was just really important to me that I get this information out to parents who were like me, who were going to be like me, who are going to be like me, right? Because it's not going to stop anytime soon.
That's what I tell them all the time. I say, it's not like y'all not gonna quit. Y'all not gonna stop having sex with sickle cell. Y'all just not.
Exactly. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not. So that's out. So here comes some more babies.
Yeah.
And that's why we do this on Living Your Life, because I want to let you know that, look at you. You're thriving. You're doing something. You saw a problem, and you went and you addressed it. And that's part of living your life. Like, look, I know I can do one thing. I can help another mother who's going to have the same issue with a book that explains it so patient, so basic. Just that this is what it's going to look like for you. That is so great for kids to understand this is your condition.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in really quick, because we mentioned the moms, but I've met quite a few dads who are single parents and raising children that have sickle cell because the mom has left. So we definitely want to be inclusive with who's raising a kid. The mom, the dad, sometimes it's the caregiver because either one of the parents can't deal with it, right? So we want to make sure that we're being inclusive because, as you know, and Dr. Hebert know, and I know all too well, that it takes a team. It takes a village with this thing.
Have you found that because the pair is together, the mother and the father, they don't know they're going to have a baby with sickle cell disease. They don't know their trait status. Then the baby comes out. That usually one of them will leave or abandon the situation.
Yes, which is why we include. Yeah, because and that's one of the reasons why we include mental health with our organizations, always Sickle Power, is because people need that support. They need that counseling because let's just use, for example, a newlywed. You get pregnant right away, you have this baby. Well, guess what? You're still dealing with each other. You're still, having this new life. And then you have a baby now and you have to deal with that. So you're dealing with each other and then you're dealing with a baby who has sickle cell. And it's stressful. It's stressful trying to manage the overall of it, right? So I would say, yeah, I've heard it a lot. One parent, for whatever reason, usually mom is super overprotective and dad is like wanting to let them be a kid, which is understandable. But to answer your question, I do see it a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting because I never knew that's why we do this show, Dr. Hebert, because that's shocking to me. Because I can't think, because my parents stayed and brought me all the way along. I just been like, well, these what parents do, because that's all I've seen. And so that's not even the case, because you're doing so much. Like, what is sicklepower.org? Talk to me about that.
Sicklepower.org is a nonprofit organization that my daughter and I founded in 2020. And what it is we provide services to the sickle cell community and caregivers. So we provide counseling, we provide financial support, we provide, the financial support is, as the funds come in. So as long as we have the funds coming in, we will provide it. We do essential hygiene products. I can remember numerous of times being in the hospital. I forgot my toothbrush. I forgot my toothpaste. I forgot my soap. Because these are not things
Bear,
you think about at 3:00 in the morning. You just thinking about taking your babies to the hospital. So it was many days that I was in a hospital with just whatever I had at the time. Another thing is that we try to provide, when we're able to, food vouchers, whether it's through Uber, DoorDash or a certificate to the hospital cafeteria, because in most cases, I don't know how it is other places, but here, they don't always give the parent a meal, right? It's the kid, and then parent, you just get whatever you get, how you get
I
it.
Right.
never thought about that one. Never thought
Yeah.
about that.
Wow.
You're in the hospital. Your kid's gonna get food, and it ain't gonna even be good food. But you might not get nothing. You can't
And
even get
I'm
bad
telling you
food.
right now,
Yeah.
is it the
But
same person cooking at every hospital?
I don't
Because
know, but I do
I'm
want to.
telling you
I
right
want
now.
to add this in. I want to add this in because sickle cell affects predominantly African Americans. With that being said, we don't have a lot of our parents don't have transportation to even leave the hospital to go and get food if that's what they wanted to do. You know,
Right.
so it's just a lot of components when we think about everything that we don't have within the sickle
Mm.
cell community and the caregivers.
Yeah, because like we talk about this a lot too, and like the transitioning from pediatric care to adult care can be very overwhelming, very hard. And so so just to find out if you even have the trait right now, where could you get tested between the ages of 20 and 25?
So if you have a primary care, you can go to your primary care. You can go to a blood bank. They'll have your results back to you within one business day. Um, you can go to just a local community clinic. Um,
And
so those,
and how about this? And if you under the age of 25, you can just go to the doctor's office where you were born, or go to the hospital you were born, and the test is already done. That's the thing that makes me so angry. It's already done. It's a federal law. But what happens by and large is that, like today, I'm in a clinic right now, and what will happen is that the mother will come in here with this baby, and then I'll tell them, baby looks good, no issues. And then about 6 weeks later, they're gonna get a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is gonna be the results of 5 tests: biotinidase deficiency or not, PKU, hypothyroidism, cystic fibrosis, and sickle cell disease. That's about federal law. You can get those results. And then that mother, 6 weeks from now, if it says sickle cell trait, she's going to be like, woo, good. I'm glad he ain't got nothing. Throw that away. And then they'll never come up again, because the mother's probably going to be having some type of postpartum issues, emotions all over the place, hormones all over the place. So the first thing she's going to think is the baby ain't got nothing because trait don't matter, and throw it away. She's got to remember that for 17 years to tell that boy or that little girl that they have that. So if they are going to start having sex now, you notice I said 17, I didn't say 21, because they're out there, doing stuff a little earlier, but they need to know. But they didn't think it was a big deal postpartum, immediately postpartum, so they ain't going to think it's a big deal now until we do something about it. Meaning, right now, there is now one public service announcement. No PSA for sickle cell disease. Not one. I'm going to give you another one. How about this? Everybody remembers the moonwalk. Everybody remembers Michael Jackson's moonwalk. Oh, they remember. Oh, it's the best thing ever in the world. Do you remember where it happened first? Where was the first place Michael Jackson's moonwalk was ever done on live TV? The Sickle Cell Telethon, the National Sickle Cell Telethon. Guess what? People remember about the moonwalk right now, but they don't even have a Sickle Cell Telethon anymore. Think about that. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things. We got to have we got to have a PSA across the United States running all the time, paid for by the federal government, saying, do you know your sickle cell trait status? If you do not, do this, and this, and go find out now. We got to have it. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It needs to be sponsored, and that's what we're going to do now. That's what we're fighting this good fight now for.
Because you know what, man, that very I can tell, man, because it's driving you crazy. Not driving you crazy that people don't even know they trait. Let me tell y'all something. Do me a favor. Find out your status now. Before Hebert have a heart attack on this podcast. But it's serious though. It really is. If you do need to know your status, you do need to know this. And like I wish people could understand. If we gave you this situation, and I'm not even talking about me and my sickle cell, but if I gave you the amount of people that it affected every time I got sick, there's a community I have put burden on just because I went sick. because I end up in a hospital, there's a group of people that got to suffer too. That's why your status is important, because you say, oh, that wouldn't happen to me. Same thing my mama said too. Same thing my dad said too. Same thing a lot of parents say, oh, that'll never happen to me. But then when it puts an overbearing amount of pressure on my mama taking off work, my grandmother's off work, my sister's off work, my dad's off, my uncles, my aunties, everybody's up here. $22,000 worth of salary in a day sitting in my room.
That's right. That's right. And that's why that's what people need to know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's what I'm about to say. All we actually do is just go find out your status. Because when you start creating a life, this is what it's going to look like.
And as long as you know, I'm good. But 97% of young women and men don't know when they get that diagnosis. They didn't know that could possibly happen. Jennifer did not know. She did not know that could happen. And that's not fair. That's not fair to anybody. That's not fair to the community. It's not fair to the mother, the father, the child. It's not fair to the medical system in the United States either. And that's why the United States is so kind of messed up when it comes to that. Because what we do in the United States, and this is not just sickle cell, we'll have a place in Colorado where people keep falling off a cliff. They just keep falling off the cliff, breaking their legs. They keep falling off the cliff, breaking their legs. So what they'll do is build a state-of-the-art orthopedic surgery clinic at the bottom of the cliff where they're going to spend $10 million where they just going to fix broken legs. All you got to do is put up a $10 fence, bro, and you ain't going to have no broken legs. So do a PSA, and it'll cost you nothing. But instead of spending millions and billions of dollars on the care of people that we may not even have to do that with, if you just do a PSA. Simple.
Right. That's simple as that. As a matter of fact, Ms. Fletcher, do you even have the book nearby, Sickle? Do you have the book nearby with you?
Listen, I had somebody to come to my apartment, and we got into a conversation about sickle cell, and I actually gave her my last book last month.
You know what?
Good.
Oh, you got
somebody.
I don't have one here with me. I gave my last one was $1,000. See?
Yeah.
I'm wrong for that.
Some others, but my daughter had orientation.
The book is so good, the two authors don't even have it.
Yeah. It's very important.
The book is so good, they just gave out all their books.
That's right.
Listen, yesterday my daughter had orientation, and the last ones that I had, because listen, I had it on my little thing, right? My book.
Oh.
And I had a few copies left, but my daughter had orientation yesterday, so I took all of the books that I had and I gave it to her teachers and the staff. So I'm going to.
Where can we find the book? Where can we get the book?
You can find the book on Amazon, and you can also find a book on the website Zoe Sickle Power.
Now, by the way, just so you know, they made a big announcement on Monday. You can also find your doctor on Amazon, and Amazon is launching the largest health network in the world. And guess what? I find it hard. I get the wrong packages from my Amazon all the time, so I ain't getting my doctor there, bro. How about that? I'm not getting my doctor from Amazon.
Yeah, they got your package wrong. What's your doctor on Amazon? I want my doctor in the office.
I want my doctor in the office. I don't care if it's A to Z and amazing. I don't care.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's not it. And so, you know what? Here's one thing before we go, Ms. Fletcher. You know, I just want to know, what's the positive impact you would like to leave for your own daughter, Zoe? What would you like her to know about you?
I want my daughter to know that I fight every day for her. Everything that I do is for her. I want her to know that she can do it and she will do it. And I'm going to support her and I'm going to be with her every single step of the way. And I want her to know that she can do anything that she wants to do. And I support her 1,000%. This is not a death sentence. This is just bumps in the road that's making you stronger. That's it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I can, Dr. Hebert, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just think Ms. Fletcher is she's just living her life, man. I think that's just great.
Well, let me tell you something. She takes care of business. And let me tell you something. You want what you don't want to do is mess with Zoe. That's what you don't want to do. Okay. You could do it. Remember in Living Color, and they had what was the lady who you don't mess with? Her name was Miss I forgot, but them Wayans brother you say though, you don't mess with that one lady. If you mess with Zoe, bro, she coming for you, bro. She coming for you. Straight up.
Yeah. That's all it is. I have nothing wrong with that. I am not mad. Well, Ms. Fletcher, Ms. Jennifer Fletcher, we thank you so much for coming on Living Your Life podcast. Please go get the book Sickle off of Amazon. Gives you a whole layout what your life will look like having sickle cell disease. We thank you so much, Ms. Fletcher.